Hey, what is up, mortals? It's Hallie here with a new video for you. Welcome to Season 1, Part 1 of What If Deku had nanomachines. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax. You're in for a treat. So we begin. Principal Nezu had been through a variety of experiences in his time as principal of Japan's most prestigious hero school, UA. The small man, who seemed to be a blend between a mouse and a bear, had lived an eventful life. But there was a first time for everything, and this was the first time that the principal had ever had a parent come in to warn Nezu about the power of their child. This was what Inko Midoriya had arrived to do, a day before the entrance exams.
My son, Izuku, was born without a quirk.
She started nervously. Nezu smiled and nodded. He had an idea where this would go.
Once we found this out, a doctor offered to enter Izuku in some sort of program held in America, in the state of Texas. Apparently, a senator, I think he was called Armstrong, had participated in the past, to great effect,
she said, looking down at her feet.
Accepting was the worst mistake of my life,
she continued quietly. Nezu frowned.
How so?
He asked. He had heard of this American Senator Armstrong. There had seemingly been a lot of drama concerning him.
The program was too successful. When he got back from it, the power had already started getting to his head.
She shook her head, recollecting the scene.
It started with small things. I should have done something, but I chalked it up as him getting used to his new power. Like how he jumped out of his room window instead of taking the stairs whenever he went outside. Or how he would race against the cars on the street on foot. And he started getting arrogant about his power. Maybe it was all the praise. He was just a kid after all. It could have gotten to his head.
What exactly do your son's powers consist of, Miss Midoriya?
Nezu asked. So far, it seemed like a rather generic super strength quirk, but Nezu had to make sure.
Well, his skin hardens in response to physical trauma,
Inko started.
And he's super strong and fast.
Nezu noted this down on a notebook he had opened in front of him.
Anyways, at one point, he got into a fight with another student. One that had bullied him for being quirkless.
Inko clenched her fist.
That's when I knew my son had changed. Maybe it was all the small things building his ego bit by bit until he thought he could do whatever he wanted. Maybe something happened in the program. Maybe he just didn't know his power. But that doesn't change what he did.
Inko looked up at Nezu.
He switched schools after that. In fact, his father and I, being responsible for him, had to go to court over it. We never told him about that. In the end, we weren't charged, mainly by using the excuse that we weren't properly informed of his power, and he couldn't control it as a child. Since he underwent the experiments in America, they couldn't charge those responsible for his power for anything without paying exorbitant amounts, so the case was dropped. At his new school, we tried to keep what happened in his last school hidden, but that just meant he kept getting more praise heaped on him, and I couldn't stop what was happening. He was spending less time at home, spending more time with his cheer squad friends. His arrogance really peaked when he got a new nickname as New All Might. The symbol of peace is his personal hero, after all.
Inko sighed.
Is it wrong that sometimes I wish the program failed? That he stayed quirkless? Maybe he wouldn't have turned out like that.
I understand your concern, though you should not blame yourself. Every parent wants to see their child succeed. You could not have known how much power he would gain and what it would do to him. Now, how much of what happened in this program do you know about? In terms of the origin of his powers, that is.
Nezu asked. Inko hesitated for a moment.
They didn't tell me much, and Izuku didn't tell me much either. So, I'm not really sure about much,
the concerned mom replied. Nezu sighed.
I see. Don't get me wrong, ma'am. I have most certainly taken your words into consideration, but we cannot do anything to change the entrance exam or his participation in it. However, you can be assured that we will be keeping a close eye on him,
the principal said. Inko nodded.
Thank you, Mr. Principal,
she said before walking out of the room. Nezu was left in deep thought. The powers she had described were fairly standard. The fact that they had reached the level where they could affect the ego and public view of a child that much was certainly noteworthy. A couple hours later, Toshinori Yagi, better known as All Might, the #1 pro hero and symbol of peace, was in Nezu's office. The small principal had just briefed him on Inko Midoriya's visit. The pro hero deflated after hearing it. Literally, as his outward, muscular form was something he could no longer maintain for a very long time, and he would shrink into a small, skinny, gaunt form when out of energy.
This boy, how physically strong is he exactly? Did you ask?
The pro hero wondered.
I doubt the descriptions of a concerned mother would have allowed us to properly quantify his strength, so I decided against it. But we can confirm that, at an extremely young age, he was able to jump from a 5-story high apartment building with no issue in landing safely. His leg strength was also enhanced to the point of being able to race with cars, though they were likely on residential streets at a similarly young age.
Nezu elaborated.
Those kinds of feats, at such a young age? What kind of experiments?
All Might responded, voice trailing off as he imagined what could have happened in the program.
I'll be watching the entrance exam,
the symbol of peace decided. Nezu smiled.
Wonderful!
Nezu exclaimed.
By the way, Toshinori, have you chosen a successor?
The principal asked. All Might was, unknown to most, born without a quirk. His quirk that gave him massive amounts of physical strength, one for all, was passed down to him by his master. And, seeing as he was weakening with each passing day, it was about time he chose a student to pass down the quirk to.
I was considering young Togota, but I don't think I can make the decision at this time. I know I will need to pass it down soon, but it's been taking longer than I thought to decide. I guess I just want to see this year's new students at UA before making any decisions.
All Might explained. Nezu sighed.
You'll need to hand it down soon. Training them will be a long, tiring process after all.
The principal said. It was All Might's turn to sigh.
Yes, I understand that, but I don't want to make any decisions I'll regret,
he responded.
I see. Well, how about we prepare which students will be placed in which battle centers during the exam?
The next day, Izuku Midori was standing before the gates of UA, with a cocky grin on his face.
UA, huh?
He said, cracking his knuckles.
There's not much they'll be teaching me that I'll actually use. But if my agency is going to go anywhere, I need a big-name hero school on my record,
he said to the small crowd gathered around him, comprised of shallow, air-headed girls fawning over him and his muscles, and a few boys who liked to stroke his ego in increasingly uncreative ways.
I ain't seen anyone who's as built as you are here yet. You could beat 'em all without even using your quirk.
Izuku's grin was replaced with a look of annoyance for a second as he heard the word quirk. He had been told by the doctors, ever since he had first received his power, to tell the general public that it was a quirk. Though he didn't know why, he had stuck with it all his life. But the grin reappeared on his face as he looked around.
Look at these losers,
he exclaimed loudly.
How are you going to try and be a pro hero when your body looks like it'll snap in half if the wind blows too hard?
He said with his cheer squad laughing loudly. Since childhood, he had strived to use his strength to be the next All Might. But if he wanted to be the next All Might, he'd need to look the part too. As a result, the boy had built his body to extremely impressive levels for his age. As the green-haired boy and his cheer squad walked, a girl from Izuku's middle school had stopped and was talking with a boy who she had noticed looking at Izuku like he'd seen a ghost.
Do you know him?
The girl asked. She was a short, rather round-faced brunette named Ochako Uraka. She had never liked the arrogant Izuku very much, and she had seemingly found a kindred spirit in this boy. He looked rather aggressive, with gloves on his hands and spiky blonde hair.
If there's one thing I want to do in my life, it's beat the hell out of that cocky bastard,
he said, venom in his voice. Ochako frowned.
Did you go to school before with him or something?
She wondered. The boy looked at her with a gaze that burned with rage cultivated for years and years.
Are you sure you want to know?
He asked quietly before putting the girl's hand over his gloved right hand. She was about to protest or scream for help when she realized the hand felt weird. Strangely solid, almost mechanical. Her eyes widened as she got an idea. The boy nodded, seeing her face of realization. Then he turned around and left.
Izuku did that?
She wondered aloud. She looked over at the laughing greenette.
I always found him a little scary,
she thought.
I hope he didn't do what I think he did.
This video is sponsored by Adobe. Adobe is redefining the digital experience through game-changing innovations that shape the next generation of storytelling. Adobe makes it easy to create, edit, and share digital documents securely, allowing you to collaborate and communicate across devices. Adobe Photoshop is your go-to application for raster graphics editing and digital art as a whole. At We the Celestials, all our thumbnails across every channel are created with Adobe Photoshop. Adobe Premiere Pro is a timeline-based and non-linear video editing software application that is versatile and easy for beginning and master editors. Finally, Adobe After Effects is the industry standard tool for digital visual effects, motion graphics, and compositing applications used in post-production. Many of our voice actors, audio editors, and video editors use Premiere Pro and After Effects to produce these high-quality videos. Click the link in the description to start creating now. And thank you to Adobe for sponsoring this video. Once everyone arrived in the auditorium, the pro hero present Mike explained to them how the practical exam would take place. The students would be divided between various urban battle centers in order to test their combat prowess against a variety of villain robots. Ochako, who was sitting below Izuku, noticed him laughing when it was revealed they would be tested against robots. The girl frowned.
What in the world is he planning?
Once the briefing was finished, Izuku left the auditorium, alongside the other students. Ochako noticed his lack of a cheer squad. She decided to approach him directly about the blonde boy.
Hey, Azuku,
She said, walking beside him.
Ochako.
He replied without looking at her. The girl grit her teeth. Should she do it? Should she ask him? What if she had the wrong idea? Or, even worse, what if she was right? The girl had no idea how the arrogant boy would respond.
What battle center are you in?
She decided to ask instead. Battle Center B. You? He asked, still not even looking at her. The brunette looked down at her card. Battle Center A was written on it.
I'm in A.
She responded. Izuku chuckled. Lucky for you. No one in my battle center is getting any points, he said. I feel bad. A lot of them could probably make it in easily, but I just can't make it in. I need to put on a show, he said, smile widening. Ochako gulped at this.
Well, good for me, I guess.
She said nervously, before walking away, leaving the greenette to head towards her battle center. Before long, Izuku arrived in front of the gates of Battle Center B. Once all those assigned to this zone had arrived, the gates opened. Izuku didn't wait for a signal. As soon as a gap formed in the gates, he dashed forwards. The metallic doors hadn't even opened wide enough to let him through, but he rammed through them anyway. He vaguely heard the horde of students behind begin running as well, but they were irrelevant. He would finish this whole exam before they could get their first points. Izuku ran at superhuman speeds towards the middle of the battle center. This would be his first time testing this facet of his power at such a large scale, but he was confident he would be able to pull it off. Once he had arrived at the mock park he believed to be the center of the arena, he took his t-shirt off. The energy from what he was about to do would destroy it if he didn't. The skin covering his muscled upper body then darkened, with huge veins now protruding all over him. He lifted his darkened arms, and a green aura began glowing around the teen. He could feel them, every robot in the battle center. He could feel the energy he could draw out of them. It was as if the boy was dipping his hand in a basin of power. All around the battle center, robots began going limp, sparking and collapsing, green beams of energy leaving them, heading towards a central point. Izuku Midoriya was absorbing the energy from every robot in the battle center at once. And, as quickly as it began, it ended. Izuku's body returned to its normal color, and he fell to his knees. Not out of exhaustion, but from an energy overload. A wide grin spread across his face. He had done it. He was sure of it. Soon enough, a few other students began heading towards the center of the battle center, following the green trails. If they're not fighting robots, that means I disabled all of them, Izuku thought. I win this round, All Might. In the observation room, the staff were in a state of near panic. What in the world was that? What's that kid's quirk?
What about the others? Did they get a second shot?
Do you think he cheated?
That power. What is he? The room was filled with an unprecedented amount of chaos for an entrance exam. Nezu looked at All Might, a concerned gaze in his eyes. I take it his mother didn't tell you he could do this? All Might asked.
You would be correct. I can only imagine that even she was oblivious to this part of his power.
Nezu replied.
That opens an entirely new door. How many other abilities does he have? Where do they come from? And how do they work? He is truly a mystery. We need to let him into UA. Regardless of his arrogance, he wants to be a hero. And, hopefully, the likes of young Togota and the pro heroes will be enough to humble him. To widen his worldview, All Might said. I agree, but it is quite unfortunate for the other students,
Nezu said. All Might frowned.
Can't we just let them go again? They didn't even get a chance,
The symbol of peace said indignantly.
If we make exceptions for the unlucky once, we'll fall into a cycle of doing it again and again, for events that are less and less unlucky, particularly since luck is not a quantifiable concept.
Nezu explained. All Might sighed.
There's a reason you're the principal and we're the teachers, I guess. Hero mentality is to save everyone. If it seems impossible, make it possible. It probably doesn't translate well to management,
All Might said dejectedly.
Well said, Toshinori. Now, you will need to keep a close eye on him. I will inform Aizawa as well,
The principal said. The room calmed down, and once the other exams finished, scoreboards for each one were shown. Battle Center A had a remarkable student, Katsuki Bakugo, who had received almost double the points of the students who had come in second in that zone, Uchako Uraka, but no one noticed this. All eyes were on the scoreboard for Battle Center B. Listed on the scoreboard for the zone at third place was Yuga Aoyama, with 0 points. At second was Tenya Ida, also with 0 points to his name. Izuku Midoriya was the only student in the entire Battle Center who had gotten any points. Naturally, his point count was higher than anything in UA history. He had received all the points. A week later, Izuku Midoriya watched a hologram of All Might announce these results.
So All Might is teaching there, huh?
The Greenette said aloud. A smile spread across his face.
I'll be able to prove that I really am the next #1,
he thought. As All Might finished a quick breakdown on how, due to less students meeting the point threshold this year, there would only be 19 students per hero class, his hologram seemed to look Izuku dead in the eyes. Izuku could see the confusion, bordering on concern, in the pro hero's eyes even through the hologram.
I don't have a quirk like you, All Might. I don't need one. All I need are...
He clenched his fists and smiled.
All I need are nanomachines, son!
Thank you all for indulging yourselves in all this information thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, I'd like to thank our patrons, BD Flames, Ethan Davis, Terry Chills, Sheifter Meals, Adam Zagel, Zill, Zavbeto3, and Joshua Phelps. Secondly, I'd also like to thank all of our YouTube members, Toy Acosta, Rob the King, Sith Lord 906, CF2364 and Knuckles, Rimu Tempest, Angel Juarez, Donald C. Stewart, Bryant Greer, and Demonized Fox. Thirdly, if you're in the mood for some great storytelling, We the Celestials has you covered. Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check it out if you're interested. Fourthly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We the Celestials, I'd like to extend an invitation to join the team. The only caveat is that we only accept members from 16 years old to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interest by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. We're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So thank you all for watching and have a great day.